Hey everybody, we are back. This is Behind the Video, episode number 26. We have quite a bit to talk about today, including whether or not you should be part of a YouTube network, and we'll get to that in just a few minutes. But before we do, I want to say hello to my lovely and talented co-hosts. That is Tim Street. Hey, Tim.
Hey, how's it going on?
It is going well, and Goldie Chan is joining us too. Hey, Goldie.
Hey.
So 2 parts of California and 1 part Connecticut. So we are off and running here. So we had some more Apple announcements yesterday, and there's a new iPad mini and a new iPad. And the good news for you, Tim, as a book author, is that the iPad mini is the same screen resolution, so you don't have to redo your book. But there's also a new version of iBooks Author out. I don't know if you've seen it yet.
Yeah, I haven't. I've been busy. I've been at Digital Hollywood, and then this week I was actually speaking at United Talent Agency yesterday. I was on a panel with Felicia Day and a couple other creators and some folks from CES and Dolby Sound. And so I haven't got a chance to check out iBook Author. It'll probably be this weekend that I'll get my hands on it. I'm looking forward to it because I am working on a new book. But a lot of stuff going on between Digital Hollywood and this CES panel yesterday, really talking about how things are changing, how the types of content that's being created are changing, and the devices to consume content on are changing as well. So I think this CES is going to be a fun one to see how all these connected devices have developed and what new opportunities there are for independent content creators.
So what? And that sounds. So, was there any new technologies or any new platforms we should be on the lookout for at Digital Hollywood?
CES is really where you're going to see the new platforms emerge in terms of electronics, and I think the big thing this year is going to be Ultra HD. This is
Ultra HD. Oh, what's that?
Yeah, Ultra HD. So way beyond HD stuff that you'd have a TV that would actually handle the resolution of a RED camera or better. So they're talking about 8K, whereas right now the RED Epic I think shoots 5K raw video. So these screens would be 8K. So to my knowledge, there's not an 8K camera out there. So it'd be great for animation and video games.
And you can produce things that nobody else can watch, right?
Yeah, and you can make those old VHS home movies look really bad.
Right. And how would you broadcast Ultra HD? I guess this is like a cable-only kind of format, right?
So we'll find out how it plays out. I mean, data's data.
Yeah, that's true. You get a big enough pipe and you can push anything through it. So that's pretty exciting. And Goldie, how about you? Are your shows the cost of capital still doing well on the ratings there?
Yes, it's doing really well. We just wrapped with our season finale on Monday, so very excited about that. Very excited to be done with one season officially. Right. And so now we're just kind of, I guess, ramping up with the marketing side, since now we are done with the physical producing side. We can kind of put our resources that away.
I see.
So I'm pretty excited about that. It's something that we've been doing kind of concurrently, but it's just hard to focus all of your attention on that when you're actively producing. As Tim probably knows, as being an ebook creator, it's hard to focus on marketing side when you're actually creating physical products.
This is the challenge, right, for a lot of independent producers. It's steering and rowing because there's no longer that marketing department to rely on, right?
Right.
Yeah, for sure. It's a big issue. I mean, for most of the independent producers that I talk with, they want to make their stuff, post it, and get paid.
Right.
Unfortunately, that's a pipe dream. It just doesn't. It would be great if the independent content creators could meet independent marketers that just wanted to market somebody else's product and somehow share in the revenue.
This is a big problem that has to get figured out. We're going to talk a lot about this when we get into our YouTube network discussion, because there are some entities out there to do that, but it may not be the best solution either. So we'll have to delve into that a little bit. But there's been some stuff happening on TV. It's the old tube there that does have a marketing department still, maybe for a little bit longer. Probably being financed by all those political ads we're all sick of seeing at this point, right? You haven't seen them until you've lived in Connecticut for a few weeks. But Dancing with the Stars is number 5. Person of Interest on CBS is number 4. Big Bang Theory is number 3. I'm still loving that show is popular. That's just awesome. 60 Minutes is number 2, and at number 1 is Sunday Night Football. So a little mix of reality, sports, and comedy is driving the ratings there. On cable, the NFL regular season game on the NFL Network is number 5, and that's intriguing, right, Tim? Because here's the end of a, well, not the end necessarily, but it's not an ESPN; it's on the NFL's own network. And is there a relevance here for ESPN and others in the future, right? Given that they can broadcast these things themselves. The Walking Dead, one of my favorites, number 4. You watch The Walking Dead, Tim?
It's one of those shows that's on my list. I actually watched the first episode on my, I want to say either my Google Nexus or my Amazon Kindle Fire. I was, looking at stuff on Amazon or Google Play, and there was a free episode. And so I watched the first episode finally, and I'm like, oh man, I got to carve out some time to do catch up.
Yeah, it's hard when you want to catch up on a show, because I found this. I did this with Lost, actually. It was on the old-fashioned DVDs. Remember those plastic discs we used to buy?
I've heard of those.
Yeah, I had stopped watching.
What are
Lost.
those, Lon?
Oh, jeez, it's
they were popular in the 90s.
In the 90s,
oh,
that's right.
Before I was born.
That's right. And I had gotten into Lost, and I watched like the first season and a half. Then I got busy and just forgot about it, and then I found myself not so busy, and I watched nothing but Lost for 2.5 months. It takes a long time to catch up. It was literally 3 or 4 seasons that I watched almost all at one sitting.
Lost.
Wow, your brain must have been all sorts of goo after that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was waiting to go back in time, back to the 80s or something, and it just didn't happen. I was really bummed out. So a couple other things on top of our list here on the record with Greta Van Susteren on Fox News Network, number 3. It's Tuesday night. That was post-debate coverage. And the presidential debate, the most watched network for the presidential debate, coming in at number 2 in our ranking, was Fox News. And that was the Tuesday, the final debate. That was actually pretty entertaining to watch. And then the NFL regular season on ESPN topped it all at 12 million viewers on cable. So some stuff going on there. Box office. Any good movies, Goldie?
Have
you seen anything?
I'm so behind on seeing a lot of these things. I am so excited about going and watching Argo, though, which comes in at number 2. I have heard nothing but wonderful things about it.
I give it a thumbs up.
Did you see it, Tim?
Yep.
Did you see it at the premiere?
Love it. Love it.
It looks awesome, and I am terrified of scary movies, so I will personally not be seeing Paranormal 4, although I do have to say that I saw something hilarious on Twitter earlier this week with that, which is a bunch of kids went to go see Madagascar 3 with their parents for a nice, early evening showing, and they played Paranormal 4 instead,
Ooh.
Which apparently, to do a spoiler alert, at the very beginning, a dead body is thrown into the screen.
Oh my
which
gosh.
is similar to, I guess, the other Paranormal Activities. And so parents are sitting there watching, and one of the parents was like, this movie looks really familiar, but I don't think this is Madagascar 3. And then when the body got flung into the camera, it was just a hysterical horde of screaming children and parents, and I kind of wish they had filmed that.
So I could see some
on YouTube.
Yeah, I could see some paralegals getting involved with this paranormal
Yes.
thing.
Yeah, for sure.
This is part of the problem with these new digital cinemas, right? Because it used to be it used to be hard to screw it up because you had these huge film canisters, and
Right.
now you're pushing a button and they push the wrong button. It looks like, yikes! It's kind of scary. But Paranormal Activity 4 came in at number 1 this week, $29 million. So and they're probably not counting those ticket sales for the Madagascar film. And coming up is, and it's funny, usually there's a lot of activity on IMDb for the new movies that are coming out. And the only one that really had any ranking this week was Fun Size, and that had 117% on the IMDb interest meter. And that is about a family or a sister that loses her little brother on Halloween. So family Halloween movie, and I guess she goes and looks for him. So that should be kind of interesting there.
Is that a scary one, or is it like Adventures in Babysitting?
I think it's more Adventures in Babysitting is what it looks like to me.
I think I'm really excited about Cloud Atlas, which is coming out, because it looks like it'll be either very, very interesting or a horrible, confusing mess.
And what is the what's the premise behind Cloud Atlas?
So Cloud Atlas tracks several different stories, but it's time travel, but then it's also different identities, and you have
Tom Hanks, Halle Berry.
Halle Berry. You
what's
have
not
just
to
a
like
bunch
about
of
it?
A-listers. So
Yeah, that's great.
I'm sure Tim will watch it before all of us. So I'm sure he will
he
give
will.
us the 411 on it.
I just wait for it to show up in my red box, so it could be between now and 4 years from now that I may actually see any of these things. So here's a segue into our YouTube discussion here, at least for the top YouTube videos. Iron Man 3 trailer came out. Lots of buzz about that, and this is I guess the movie's not coming out until May 3rd. Is that right?
Something like that. Yeah, that sounds right.
But the trailer is up on YouTube. It is the second most watched video this week on YouTube with 12.5 million views. So I'm excited for it. And Iron Man has I like both of the other two movies, and he's modeled after Elon Musk. Did you know that?
Yep.
The Tony Stark guy. So I wouldn't put it past Elon Musk to have a rocket suit in his basement there. So that's pretty exciting. Still topping the list was Felix Baumgartner's supersonic freefall from 128,000 feet. 27.
He had a suit.
He did have a suit. It didn't have a rocket on it. It just felt like a rock. But 27 million views on that one. And then there's a couple other things, some Vivo movie videos.
He made a naughty tweet that trended actually pretty heavily.
And what did it say?
He basically said, "Why don't we convince Justin Bieber to do the same thing I did, just sans a suit?"
Ooh, ouch.
Wow.
That's not very nice.
Yeah, I heard. I also heard Justin Bieber was in the news this week because apparently his father did some nude photos, and those nude photos are for sale. So if you want to buy Justin Bieber's dad's new photos, there's a bidding war going on for those.
I've long wanted to have children who will be very successful in the entertainment industry, but now that you mention it, my privacy could be violated as a result. Maybe I'm not too.
Yeah, you got to wonder. They say that the photos were done like for a Playgirl type magazine. That's the way they were shot. So it wasn't like Justin snuck in and caught him in the shower.
So this is a conscious effort on his part. So
apparently so.
Wow.
Maybe he was doing a gift, a photo gift for somebody, and they got snagged. I don't know.
See, one of the things that I've learned from an early life is that I will never be a nude model nor an athlete, and I've kind of lived my life in that in that frame there. So
not even a nude athlete.
Not even that.
What about a coach? Have you thought about coaching?
Yes, coaching perhaps athletes with clothes on the whole time.
Okay, very good.
So let's move on to our YouTube network discussion here, because this is something that popped up right after our last show last week, so we couldn't talk about it last week. But we talk about this guy quite a bit, this Ray William Johnson, who up until recently dominated the front page of YouTube until they changed some of their front page stuff to make it a little bit more difficult for, or at least to get some more diversity on how things are viewed. So Ray William Johnson, according to Read Write Web, is the world's most successful YouTuber. And he announced, though, last week that he had... Now, here's the backstory, is that he had signed up with Maker Studios, and we'll talk about what this is in a second, but they're a network, I guess, that will finance YouTube stars and do some of that kind of stuff. And he signed up with them, started having them produce content for him or with him, and then he decided abruptly to leave and cancel his contract with them. And that led to a whole discussion about whether or not these networks have earned a nasty reputation for kind of applying very heavy-handed tactics to unsuspecting YouTube stars. So, Tim, I want to start with you first. So tell us a little bit about what these networks are and how long they've been around for, and why would somebody want to sign up with one?
Sure. There's a couple different networks out there. There's Maker Studios. There's Big Frame, Full Frame, Revision 3, which got bought by Discovery. And what they do is they basically let the content creators create the content, and then they field inquiries for movie deals, for product placement deals, sponsorship deals, advertising deals, and they help with marketing of a YouTube creator's show. Now, there's a little back and forth. I mean, some people like the Fine brothers are really upset. They left Maker a while ago. And Maker this week became the #1 YouTube network. They surpassed Machinima, which was the #1. And I don't know if they're like 1 billion views a month or it's some crazy number like that. But these networks, they band together. I think Maker, if I'm not mistaken, started out with Lisa Nova, who you might remember her from Mad TV.
Right.
Lisa
she got on Mad TV because of what she did on YouTube,
yeah.
right?
So I think she banded together with some popular YouTubers, and they started Maker, and then it kind of evolved into a real business. I think I'm a little dusty on this, so I could be wrong. But there are other ones. There's a guy named George that left YouTube and started his business to help YouTubers, and so they're out there, and they provide a real value. But at that value, they take a percentage of your sales. And traditionally, an agent would take 10%. Sometimes a manager who would be doing more than just fielding calls and pursuing acting jobs or writing jobs. A manager who would spend time working on strategy with you would take 15 or 20%. Some of these the deals are split different everywhere, so I'm not sure exactly, but some of them are in the neighborhood of 50%.
Wow, and that's is this of the revenue that you would earn as like through an AdSense account, or are these networks putting?
Yes.
So they take over your AdSense account and then give you half.
Yeah, they take over your AdSense and your Google, your YouTube.
And this
account.
is to clarify, Tim, also 50% of any other deals that you actually make, so any other movie deals or anything like that.
Right.
As well, which is high.
Well, there is precedence for this. There was a guy, I think in the 1950s and 60s, named Colonel Tom Parker, and he only had one client. His name was Elvis Presley. He got 50% of Elvis Presley. So it's not an unprecedented situation, Colonel Tom took care of the business and Elvis took care of the creative. So it really depends on your point of view and what you think is fair. I mean, in a traditional Hollywood distribution deal, there are different ways that go, but it's usually a 50-50 split. Between the producer, if an independent producer and the distributor, unless the distributor is really taking advantage of the producer. You look at Apple. Apple is a 70-30 split, whereas Apple has built all the technology to deliver the music or the app or the iBook, and the creator creates whatever the content is. So it really boils down to buyer beware. If you're partnering with somebody, you should know enough to read the contracts and be an adult and understand what you're doing. But
I think, Tim, that's part of correct me if I'm wrong, that's part of the concern, is that these are actually kids. They're 15, 16-year-olds. They're kind of under a certain legal age, or maybe this is the first time they've had to deal with legal contracts, and so they aren't pulling in lawyers and they aren't reading these contracts thoroughly, correct?
Well, minors are not allowed to enter into legal contracts, as far as I know. No, I'm not a lawyer. I don't play one on TV,
Right.
But there has to be an adult involved someplace. And, everyone's always told, read the fine print.
And there's probably a lot of it there. And so from the value proposition, because I'm just trying to wrap my head around this, that if I'm a successful YouTuber, I got there without any real help. And Goldie kind of talked about the challenges of having to market and produce. So maybe there's some value in the marketing perhaps. But if I'm already popular, and Ray William Johnson's a great example of it. Here's a guy who topped the charts week after week, producing everything himself. I'm sure it was a ton of work to get that stuff cranked out on time. Was Maker making the videos for him, or in that he was just performing and they were taking care of the rest of it? Was that
well?
Kind of...
They did have a team of people helping out. I think I read that it was a team of 12 people helping him. So a big undertaking there, and those people have to be paid, and there's cost there. I think another stumbling point in the contract was the word perpetuity, which means for life.
Yes, that's a challenging piece of language right there.
Yeah, so some of the people have rewritten their contracts so that perpetuity is not in there. I think Machinima, also got dinged a little bit on this, and I think they took out perpetuity out of theirs. Revision 3, to my knowledge, hasn't had any complaints, or at least I haven't heard of any. They seem to be pretty, straightforward. And the bottom line is it has to be a win-win deal, or the wheels are going to come off. People won't be motivated to make content. They'll walk away. In the early days of podcasting, there was a podcast company run by Adam Curry. And a lot of people that signed up to be part of that network were grumbling and left, and some stayed. Callie Lewis was there for a really long time. Now she's with Revision 3. So it really boils down to, if you're going to create a network, create a win-win situation.
That's a good set of advice there, and one of my favorite YouTubers, Kevin Nolte, he goes by Nultz. He says you really shouldn't sign up with a network, but maybe because he was one of these people that was able to be successful on his own, but he's also a marketing guy. So,
yeah, he's got a marketing background,
yeah,
and
so
for him it's like, it's easy.
So it's easy to do that. There's a great post on New Media Rockstars that Kevin Nolte actually linked to. And you can just do a search for that, and it's which YouTube network should you sign with, and they have some good advice, a real concise amount of advice as to what you should be looking for. But I just like, and Goldie, I don't want you to give away any confidential business information here with your show, but you're producing a show independently, right? You don't have a network that's backing you, right?
No, so we're all basically self-funded and self-contained, and we are not on any particular network. And it's been very, I think, interesting. You're almost an island unto yourself when you're not, I think, necessarily tied with a network of kind of more known shows or more known people.
And do you think is there networks now coming after you to try to get you to sign with them, or did they steer clear because you're so capable of doing this without their help?
So honestly, before we even launched, we had actually gotten a lot of interest before we launched, so we could kind of be a featured piece of content on networks. And we had actually turned it down because we had wanted to do this very, very independently of other people, and because as you guys have mentioned before, it helps if you have a marketing background already. And I already do, so it was, to us, it just made more sense to go kind of more independently. But I think that I know people who are on networks and they're very happy with them. So I think it really depends on if you're reading that fine print that Tim talks about, and if it is a win-win situation for you.
Then go for it. Now, Tim, there's some movement by YouTube, because for a while these networks existed because YouTube didn't really have any alternative to that, and to some degree, hiring a network was kind of like hiring your official YouTube lobbyist who maybe had some more sway with YouTube than you could have on your own. But now YouTube has its own networks. Have you seen any difference in how YouTube is approaching the content that it's funding or producing on its own through its networks?
Well, that's a whole different ballgame. I mean, that's really where YouTube approached people who were already creating content either on YouTube or on television and said, "Hey, we're doing this partnership program," and they gave them money up front, which they have to pay back through an ad rev split. Oh, so the channels that aren't making any ad revenue aren't going to be renewed or anything like that, and the people that took the money are working their butts off right now. I mean, Felicia Day is just going around the clock with her channel Geek and Sundry. So, it's a blessing and a curse.
So it's almost like a little bit like indentured servitude, right?
In a way. I mean, the
Yeah.
funny thing is I always look at YouTube as an explosion of volunteer slavery. There's so many people that have posted stuff on YouTube for free and never get paid, but yet YouTube benefits from all the traffic that the cat videos have created over the years.
It's got such lock-in. And, I noticed back, and this is in the early days, a couple of years ago, that there was a couple of very popular YouTubers that got offers from other video hosting sites and then left YouTube completely. And that didn't work out too well for a lot of them. Is it possible to be successful anymore without being on YouTube?
I think you have to be in both places. I mean, that's where the traffic is, and you've got to be where the traffic is. But you look at people like Rooster Teeth. They did Red versus Blue, the first machinima out there, and that show's still on, and they're making a lot of money by monetizing through Blip. So
Right.
they have Blip on their website, and their website is a destination website. They make money off YouTube as well. I would imagine the YouTube money's more now, but I don't know for sure.
And I think Blip has been something where I've seen just in my own stuff with my crappy product reviews that I do that YouTube makes a lot more money for me than Blip, but perhaps Blip is focusing more on some of their higher end productions as well. And
Blip's not yet a destination site the way that YouTube is, and people go to YouTube to search for videos. So if you've titled your video correctly and you've tagged it correctly and people are searching for that thing, they're going to find it.
Sure. Very interesting.
And they're going to find it on Google even.
Yeah.
Videos rank higher than text does. So you can. I mean, that's a great trick. If you have some product or service that you want to promote, make a video out of it. Go to Google Keyword Tool, which is free, and look for the keywords that are the most searched, and title your video with that.
And this is what happens when Google owns YouTube.
Yes, it does.
There you go.
They always want to promote the very relevant content that they have control over too. So to keep everybody in that AdSense ecosystem. So just some takeaways. Networks might be for you, but they may not be. So really read the fine print. And if you're not currently, and this is probably something for everybody to do, if you don't have revenue sharing activated on your YouTube account, you should really activate it. It's real money, and if you have any video that's been sitting there and getting a couple thousand views, a year, you're going to make a little bit of money on it. So definitely turn on those revenue shares, and you don't need a network to do that, and you can always just turn them right back off again too. So very interesting, and we'll have to keep an eye on how these networks continue to develop. In the meantime, I will just keep making crappy videos of my iPhone and collecting my $50 a month. So
hey, speaking of iPhone, app of the week.
Yes, we totally forgot about the app of the week.
Pick Stitch is a great little app for if you want to put together different pictures and make them into one so you can share that on Instagram. So you have a little collage. It's a free app, Pick Stitch.
Pick Stitch. That is a great one. 'Cause I always love to see those little collections of photos there. I have one, and this is something I'm pretty sure I didn't do this one last week. Google Drive for the iPad and the iPhone. Have you seen it?
You didn't.
I did or I didn't?
You did not.
Oh, good, because I was thinking about it, and I can't remember if that was the one I did last week or not. So we live, and I know I do, and I think the two of you do as well, we live on Google Docs, right? And the biggest challenge has been editing those Google Docs on your phone or on your iPad. There was a clunky web interface for a while. It just didn't really work too well. So now there's an app that interfaces with your Google Drive, which includes your Google Docs, and you've got that full editing capability where you can see what the other people are doing at the same time you are. Really, really slick. So for that lean back editing job, it is can't be beat. Google Drive for iOS, free of charge. I highly recommend it. Any app that you like, Goldie?
Because I get to say the last app, I'm going to go with a game. So one game that I totally have been loving is called Mew Mew Tower. It's incredibly popular in Japan, and it is stacking cats as high as they will go. And if you want to talk about branding, successful branding, you can buy keychains that you can stack of different size cats now.
Are those what's on the wall behind? No, those are birds.
No, these are
Those
birds,
are angry birds.
Unfortunately. If you guys are looking for a game that has absolutely nothing to do with work, that is a fun one that has been monetized super well.
99 cents. Not
Yep.
a bad deal. So what happens to
Bad
the
deal.
cats when they fall over?
You will have to see once you play the game.
Oh, well, I might check it out. If they had a dog one, maybe I would do that. So that's great. So those are the apps of the week, and we'll close out on this story. Larry King, who retired but still is doing stuff, according to TubeFilter, is going to host a debate for third-party candidates on Aura TV. I don't even know what Aura TV is. Timothy, are you aware of Aura TV?
No, I'm not, but I was at an event last night. Scott Brown, he's a writer, producer, director, and he's doing something with Larry King, so this may be what he's doing. They had a little for-your consideration event last night up in the Hollywood Hills, and Stockholm is the series that Scott Brown has entered into the International Academy of Web Television Awards, January 8th, CES, don't miss it. But there's a lot of stuff going on with Larry King, so he seems to be entering the digital space, and I would imagine Aura TV is a digital channel.
Yeah, it is a digital channel. It's Aura.tv, and he will have Rocky Anderson from the Justice Party, Virgil Good from the Constitution Party, Jill Stein from the Green Party, and Gary Johnson from the Libertarian Party. What he's missing is my favorite third-party presidential candidate, and that is Vermin Supreme. Have you ever seen Vermin Supreme?
No, no.
He wears a he wears a boot on his head. That's all you need to know. But he is a character.
Now I know who's your write-in candidate.
Yes,
Milan.
he's the write-in candidate.
Sorry to know how you're voting.
Yes, you got to be careful, not to throw your vote away. So Vermin Supreme is one to check out. He is a character. He's on Twitter. You can see some of the stuff he did. Somehow he got into like a press conference at the press club in D.C. and with the boot on his head. So. It's America. It's what makes it great. You can run for president with a boot on your head. So that'll do it for this episode of Behind the Video. Thanks, everyone, for watching and listening. You can find me at lonsipin.com. Goldie, where can people find you?
As always, you can find me at Goldie Chan on the Twitterverse or at Cost of Capital.
Great. And now you can watch the whole season in one sitting. So
yes,
do it.
you can. So do it.
You don't have to wait for next week. It's all there. And Tim, where can people find you?
At One Tim Street on Twitter.
Excellent. Buy his book on the iBook store. It's very inexpensive and very entertaining for hours on end. So check it out. And that'll do it again for this week of Behind the Video. I am Lon Sipin, and this show is a wrap.